and welcome to part 2 of the RazorwireReviews Bat-a-thon. Batman Returns for this time around. This was the sequel to Batman, and this was released in 1992 with Tim Burton coming back to direct the film. Now initially Tim Burton didn't really want to do this. He'd gone off, he'd made Edward Scissorhands, and he wasn't sure whether he wanted to go back into another big movie. But Batman had been such a huge hit that Warner Brothers, of course, wanted a sequel, and they wanted Tim Burton at the helm of that. So they called him in basically and said that, you know, how about you just make a Tim Burton movie? How about you just do what you want to do with this, you know? And he was like, oh, okay then. And it was the same kind of deal with Michael Keaton. He wasn't too sure, but then the idea of revisiting the character, you know, he'd never done a sequel and played the same character twice. And just seeing how dark that Tim Burton was taking this film, as opposed to the first film, really got Michael Keaton interested in this film. So part 1 of this, thank you for everyone who watched it by the way, but I was a little bit disappointed in it. Like, I didn't even talk about the plot of the film and how much I loved Michael Gough's performance as Alfred. There's a lot I didn't cover about the first one. I'm not going to go into that now, but I just feel like I maybe skimped on my actual review of that film. So I'm going to try and go into a bit more detail with this one. So Batman Returns comes back to Batman about a few years after the first film. It's not really specific, but you just kind of guess it's been a while. And Batman isn't really doing anything until he's called back into action, and Batman Returns by kind of like a group of these clowns, these kind of henchmen who are running around causing trouble, who eventually you find out are being sent to Gotham to cause mayhem by the Penguin Man of the Sewer, played by Danny DeVito, who's this weird kind of deformed monster who lives down in the sewers and was raised by penguins. And this is a complete departure from the comic book character. I know I said I wasn't going to talk about comparisons and stuff, but I didn't realise until watching all the extras on the Blu-ray that the Penguin was actually just a kind of a silly old man, you know, in the comics, whereas Tim Burton really wanted to go further. And you know, they created a whole backstory, and this is a good example of like a good origin in a superhero / comic book film, where, you know, they sum it up in 2 minutes. The opening scene of this film is the Penguin origin, and it's only about 3 minutes long. You see that his parents, who are rich and wealthy and posh, and they give birth to him, and they realise that he's got these kind of weird, kind of deformed fingers, and you know, he's got a bit of an animalistic side to him. So they basically stick him in a like a cage kind of basket crib kind of thing, and they just chuck him in the river where he floats down to the sewer. It's almost like a twisted version of the Moses story, which I thought was really cool. And he's then raised by the penguins. So the Penguin is causing a lot of trouble in this, and he also kidnaps Max Schreck, who's a businessman played by Christopher Walken. Awesome. Christopher Walken in a comic book film, that's great. Love Christopher Walken. And he basically captures Christopher Walken, he brings him down to his sewer, and basically bribes Max Schreck into helping him out and bringing him up to the streets of Gotham, because he knows all of Max Schreck's dirty secrets. You know, Max Schreck's kind of this big public figure in Gotham, but he's kind of a shady businessman who does a lot of darker things, as you find out as the Penguin has kind of discovered these things. And there's a really cool kind of one of the ideas I like about this film is that the Penguin's down the sewers and he's going through everyone's crap. You know, he knows everyone's secrets, everything that they flush down the toilet he knows, you know. I like that about it. Like, he had some documents he glued together, and it was really cool. And speaking of, just while we're on the topic, the subject, the character, the Penguin played by Danny DeVito was just an amazing performance. You know, the makeup just looks great. He's got this kind of fat suit that makes him look even bigger, and he's just grotesque. And Danny DeVito was just amazing. From what I could tell on the Blu-ray, you know, he was in character. You know, while they weren't shooting as well, he was really into this whole thing and had a lot of fun with it, but also went really dark with it too. And he's just brilliant in this film. And then, of course, you know, we have Michael Keaton as Bruce Wayne Batman, and he's even more of a tortured soul in this film, I feel. You know, Batman's such a brilliant character, and that's why I love him, you know. It's almost like him being Batman is more than him being Bruce Wayne. Like the shot of when you first see him, and he's just kind of sitting in his study, and then the bat symbol shines in on the window. He looks up and he's up. You know, time to go to work. You know, he literally was just sitting there doing nothing. You know, Bruce Wayne, you know, his normal life just doesn't bring him much, but as Batman he's got a purpose. But again, it's still kind of, it's just brilliant. I love the character, and I think Michael Keaton personifies Batman better than anyone. Okay, I'll just say that now. I think Michael Keaton was the best Batman of all time, you know. Christian Bale, yeah, we'll get to that. You know, I'm not a big fan of him, but I don't hate him. Michael Keaton's just fantastic. And then he's also confronted with Catwoman, who's in this film too. And that's one of the criticisms of this film, is that they put two main villains into this film, Catwoman and Penguin. But I think that works awesome. I mean, you got like the Bat, you know, the Cat, the Penguin. You know, it's like a really cool dynamic. And Catwoman kind of dances on the edge of, you know, being really bad and being just kind of a victim of the circumstances. She's Selina Kyle, and she's the secretary of Max Schreck. And you know, she's very like a lowly secretary. You know, she's very meek and lonely, as we find out when she goes back to her apartment and stuff. And while she's in the office one night, she's looking through some documents, and she finds out all of Max Schreck's secrets, and he's there. And it's late at night, it's just the two of them. It's a brilliant scene, and he pushes her out of a window. But luckily, she hits these Schreck awnings on the way down. Doesn't die, but she's, you know, nearly dead. And these cats come in and start biting her and stuff, and bring her back to life. And she's back, but she's not back, and she's kind of something, it's snapped, you know. Awesome. I love the whole thing, and Michelle Pfeiffer, who plays Catwoman, and Selina Kyle, did a brilliant job, you know. I mean, she's attractive, which is what you need, I guess, in a comic book film and a big budget film. But also, she's just really great, you know. And there's a brilliant scene as Catwoman where she's got the whip, and she whips off 4 heads of these mannequins. And you find out in the Blu-ray that she did that in one take. Like, she really had 3 months training with that whip, a lethal, you know, weapon. And you know, she really committed herself to the role. I love the scene when she gets back to her apartment. She just rips the whole place apart and makes her cat suit, and it's just brilliant. It's a really, really dark film, a lot darker than the first film, you know. And that's one of the main reasons people don't like it, and that's one of the main reasons people do like it. I'm surprised I like this as much as I did when I was a kid, considering how dark it was, and I appreciate it all the more now. And everything kind of just like builds from that point on until basically, you know, all 4 of those characters, to a lesser extent Max Schreck, but you know, Batman, Penguin and Catwoman, all their paths kind of, you know, they cross, and they just build to this great finale that I just absolutely loved. And also another running theme throughout this is that the big plot between, you know, Penguin and Catwoman, because Penguin kind of gets Catwoman on his side, and he's got Schreck on his side, and he's lobbying to be mayor of Gotham, and he wins the people over with his sad story of, you know, being cast away by his parents and stuff, and he makes himself kind of like more humanized to the people of Gotham, and he makes them sympathize for him. So it's for Batman to kind of, you know, reveal him for what he really is. But at the same time, Penguin also paints out Batman to be the villain, and they frame him for killing this woman, and it just kind of turns everyone against Batman, and it's just a brilliant dynamic. I absolutely love this film. I think the first one is my favourite. I think I like it more than this one. I love this one a lot more when I was a kid. This is the one I loved a lot more, but for me, Batman vs. the Joker is the best Batman story, you know. There's so much going for it, and when it's Jack Nicholson and Michael Keaton, it's just awesome. But this one is very close for me, and the added darkness really makes it. So the Blu-ray itself, a lot of extras on here, not as many as the first film, which is understandable. We get the commentary with director Tim Burton, which again was just as good as the first film. He really talks about some interesting things, you know, and it just feels really casual, like you're talking to him, you know, like he's just a friend of yours, really. Then we have a making-of featurette, The Bat, the Cat and the Penguin. This was a featurette that was made at the time of the film's release, which was kind of cool. You get all these really bad 90s video effects and stuff that they obviously thought was really cool at the time, when we get like a cheesy kind of host, I forget what his name was, but it's good, you know, it's good behind the scenes stuff. And we also see that the interview, the main talking head of Michael Keaton in all of these, including the Batman Blu-ray, was taken from this 1992 featurette. So actually we don't actually hear much from Michael Keaton recently on these Blu-rays, which is a shame, but still, you know, you get a lot of input from him, so that's cool. Then we have continuing the series that starts on this Blu-ray, Shadows of the Bat, the cinematic saga of the Dark Knight. On here we have part 4. Parts 1 through 3 are on the Batman Blu-ray, and there's only one part on this, which is Dark Side of the Night. So obviously there was a lot more to talk about with the first one, and they've just gone for one part each for Batman Returns, Batman Forever and Batman and Robin. So part 4 here is Dark Side of the Night. It's about half hour long, and it just goes through the whole production. Really great, you know, you just get all the main players, you know, Tim Burton, Michael Keaton, Michelle Pfeiffer, Danny DeVito, you know, the writers, the producers and all that kind of stuff. We don't hear from Christopher Walken, but we do in another part of the Blu-ray, and I'll get to that. So yeah, there's a great documentary, 30 minutes long, crams it all in. There's a lot of good stuff from Michael Keaton, more than in the first one, I think, where he talks about the character and his approach to things, which is really cool to see. Great, really recommend watching that one. Then we have the Beyond Batman documentary, just like loads of them, you know, same as in the first Batman. We get Gotham City Revisited, the production design of Batman Returns. I'm sorry, I got a bad chest today, I've got asthma and it's just hard to bloody breathe when I'm talking so fast or trying to get this all done. We have Batman, we have Sleek, Sexy and Sinister, the costumes of Batman Returns. Making Up the Penguin, that's a cool one, showing you that how they kind of created the Penguin, just dark character, really cool. Assembling the Arctic Army, Bats, Mats and Dark Knights, a nice pun there for people who are into visual effects, the visual effects of Batman. Inside the Elfman Studio, the music of Batman Returns, and that's the, just talking about the music, and you get to see what Danny Elfman thinks about the whole thing, both at the time of this release and at the time we see two different interviews. And then we have, of course, the Heroes and Villains profile galleries, which are short videos on each character. Now there's one there on Alfred, played by Michael Gough, who I think is awesome. I love him as Alfred. And I feel like, you know, because like the same interviews are used for, like, you know, the Shadows of the Bat Part 4 and the Bat, the Cat and the Penguin featurette and the Beyond Batman galleries. I feel like maybe they should just edit into like a 2-hour, just comprehensive, big, massive, fuck-off documentary, you know. But at the same time, I do like that they're split up, so you can just kind of watch a bit and then watch another one later, you know. But then they could have made a big one with chapters and stuff. I think that would have been really cool. But again, it makes it look like there's a lot more on there, I guess, if you split it up and stuff. Then we have a music video. I can't even pronounce that. Something and the Banshees Face to Face. It wasn't that great at all. And we have the theatrical trailer, of course, rounding it all off. So overall, an amazing Blu-ray. Again, picture looks amazing. You know, the quality's great. Done a really good job with this. You know, and great special features, commentary, loads, just everything covered with the documentaries. Can't complain apart from, you know, maybe just having a big massive overview, you know. And yeah, so that is that for Batman Returns. This was actually a lot shorter than the first video, so hopefully that's good. I'm going to leave you with one personal story from this film. And there's a lot of them, but this is a particularly embarrassing one. Well, not really, I guess I was a kid, but when I was a kid, I used to get these little sweets called blackjacks, and they're like little black aniseed flavoured chews. And I would put them in my mouth and I would chew up about 5 of them, and I get like this big kind of like black juice in my mouth, and I would chase after my friends, all kids who are younger than me, where I used to live, with this black sack around my mouth, and I'd be like hobbling, running after them, going "Arr!" like the Penguin, you know. Really embarrassing story, but I loved it. I guess part of me wanted to be a villain in a Batman film. I wanted to like get into, you know. I just imagine it was a blast for Danny DeVito to put all that stuff on and just be completely liberated and just go for it. One of the funny stories in this, Michael Keaton says that it was fun for him making Batman Returns because he would just look at Michelle Pfeiffer and Danny DeVito and see in their faces that they were just totally lost, just like he was at in the first film. And he said every kind of 15 days or so, I'd kind of just step outside myself for a second and realise, you know, I'm a grown man in a bat suit, you know, and I just, you know, he said he'd say the same thing to Jack Nicholson in the making of the first film, you know, you realise we're grown men doing this, you know. So yeah, that was a really fun film to watch and review and check out all the special features. This series has really given me a kick up the arse to watch all of them, because I never got around to it, never had the time. They could never justify the time, but now I have, and yeah, this is just an amazing film. Absolutely love it. And next up will be Batman Forever, and then Batman and Robin. Do I have to do Batman and Robin? Do I have to? But Batman Forever isn't that bad, so I'm sure it'll be fun. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Okay, so this is probably going to be a running theme throughout these videos. I'm going to film the main thing, take the tripod down, and then realise there's something I really wanted to mention in the main video, and then I'm going to put it on in the end like this. I really like the relationship between Batman and Catwoman, both as their masked alter egos, and Bruce Wayne and Selina Kyle. They had great chemistry, Michael Keaton and Michelle Pfeiffer, and just the duality of both of their roles and characters, and the way they kind of, you know, their interactions throughout the film, and particularly like the scene where they realise who they both are is just really well done. And also I just wanted to mention that Danny DeVito as the Penguin is responsible for one of my favourite lines in the film, and one of the lines just makes me cringe the most in the film. The first one is, when he sees Catwoman lying on his bed and he's like, just the pussy I've been looking for. It's like, oh god, they went there, didn't they? They went there. And the other line is when he's looking at his parents' grave and all the press are there, and he turns around and he says, I was the #1 son and they treated me like #2. Which I think is just like the perfect example of how to do a good joke and how to do a bad joke within the same film, within the same character.